Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to show you how to use the task feature on ClassIn. I had another teacher request that I make a video about this because she wanted to see what it looks like from the student side. That way she can help her student if they don't understand what they are supposed to do. And this is one feature that it is important to see it from the teacher side and from the student side. So first, let's take a look at where the task feature is. So when you open your ClassIn app, you're going to find your student's class on the left side. It automatically opens the chat area first, and then at the top, you will see the task. This is basically a homework assignment or extra practice that you can give your student. Not all teachers are going to use this feature, but I do like to use it, and my parents really like me giving their child some additional extra practice for our classes. So once you go to the task, you're going to click on Post Task at the bottom, and this box will pop up. So first of all, you can name your task, or you can just leave it how it is if it has the date. I usually name it whatever type of assignment is. If it's like a vocabulary practice or pronunciation practice, I will name what it is at the top. And then you have an area where you can type in directions for the student. But there's also some extra features at the bottom here. So you can add a picture. So if you have a picture saved on your computer that you want them to respond to, you can add a picture here, and it will open in this box. You can record yourself. I actually use this a lot. So after a class, if there's a few words that the student had a hard time pronouncing, I will record myself saying the word, and then they will practice saying the word as their homework or sentences. So I use this a lot. It's a great feature. And then you have your cloud. So if you have an extra assignment, like on a PowerPoint that you have in your drive on ClassIn, you can upload that into the task. You can upload a file from your computer, so a PowerPoint or PDF, anything that you have saved on your computer, you can also upload. And the last one is a link. So if you have a link that you want them to go to do practice, you can just enter the link here and then type in the title, whatever title you want to give it, and then they can just click on that link. So there's lots of options here for you, or you could just type an assignment. So for example, I will sometimes ask them to just make a sentence for their vocabulary words. So I'll just type in, make a sentence for your words, and then I might just list the words underneath so they remember what they are, and then they can respond to that. Or just a question for them to answer, or sometimes I also request them send me a picture. I might say, for example, I was teaching bright and dark, so I asked my student to take a picture when it is dark outside and take a picture when it is bright outside. Or I might ask them to make a video showing me something that we talked about in class. So for example, I had a class where we were talking about school supplies. So I asked the student to make a video showing me some of their school supplies. And then in the video, they will tell me the words, the English words for those school supplies. So there are many, many ways to post a task, many tasks that you can have them complete. And then at the bottom here, there's an add answer. I never use this, but you could if it was a simple question and you want them to be able to see the answer after they've completed it. You can put the answer in here. And you could also, you have the same tools at the bottom, and then you can choose to keep the answer private. So if you just want to keep it for yourself to see, public now, public after they submit it, or public after you review it, or public after the end. So that's an option. I've never used it myself. And then on the right is when you can have them start. So they can either start right away, or you can have them start tomorrow, the next day, or whenever you choose. The end is when you want to give them a week to complete it or till their next class. That is up to you, that you can choose the end date and time. Student, this would be if you have multiple students in a class. You could choose to send it to all of the students or just specific students in that class. The grading, I always just choose no rating, but you can choose how you want it to be marked. Public, this would be, again, if you have a class with a group of students. You can keep it private, which means only the students you selected can see it. So you can share the excellent tasks. Excellent would be after you review it. Or public all tasks, which means all the students can see it, even if it's not a selected student. And then public now, public after the deadline, public after being reviewed, or public after submitting. I just keep it exactly how it is because I usually teach just one student per class. And then you can allow to submit it late after the deadline that you chose, or you can also allow students to download attachments. So if you attached a picture, that will allow them to download that picture rather than just seeing it in the task. Okay, so now, and at the bottom, save to task bank. So if you do that, you can choose to save it in your drive. What I do, I don't save my tasks because those are usually specific to the student. But if it was something that you think you would use multiple times with different students, you can save it here. You can make a folder. So I have like a folder for my tests because I do reuse those. But you could also make a folder for your tasks. You can name the task. That way, if you wanted to use it again, you could go to your task bank up here, click on it, and then you don't have to redo that task over and over again if you choose to reuse it. And then after all of that is done, then you just click confirm. And now you can see the task under here, but you'll also notice you can see it under the class on the left over here. So I see the title that I gave it. I see my deadline. It is unreviewed because I have not reviewed it yet because the student has not submitted it yet. So submitted 0 out of 1. So this will let me know when the student has submitted the task so I know to go in and review it. So now let's take a look at what the student sees. So here's my class, Test Classroom Business. And now just like on my side, the student now sees a task under the classroom. It has the title, it gives them the deadline, and then over here it says due task. So this will let the student know that they have a task to do. So if your student says, oh, I didn't see it, you can explain to them. You could even take a picture of yours and show them that it will be right under your classroom. So here, all the student has to do is click on this task. So I'm going to do it on my computer or on my iPad. I'm clicking on do task, and it's going to open the task details. So exactly what I typed in on my box, now the student can see it. So here's my make a sentence for your words, and here are my words. So after the student sees the task, then they have to go to the bottom and click on take task. So here's something that's also important to know. Sometimes a teacher might give a task where the student doesn't have to complete anything physical on their iPad. So for example, it might just be to read these sentences to your mom. I've done that before. Or to read a story that you read in the class. To open up, you might give them a PowerPoint and just ask them to read it to themselves or to write their sentences on a piece of paper. So if there is nothing for them to complete on the iPad, you won't be able to see if they completed it because they did not click on take task. So you might ask a student, say, after you have completed this, and you could write it in here, after you completed this, click on take task and type in complete. They have to type something in after take task for it to show up as completed. So I'm going to click on take task at the bottom, and here is where they complete their task. So for it to be submitted, they would have to either type something in here or upload whatever document that they need to upload. So if it's something where you just want them to review or to read something on their own, you might ask them to just type in complete, and then they can complete the task. Or if they're doing the sentences, they would write their sentences for their words. If it was asking for them to upload a picture, then they have that option. So they have a camera here where they can take a photo, so they can actually just take their iPad. Like if I said, take a picture of it dark outside, the student could just take their iPad, click, take a photo. Or they can choose from the photos on their iPad that they have saved. So I'm going to click cancel there. They also have the microphone feature. So if they click on that microphone, if I said to practice saying these words or sentences, they can do the same thing I did. They click on that, they record themselves, and it will save it in their task. The next one, let me exit out of that one. So now they have the file folder. So they can upload from my drive file. So that would be from their drive on ClassIn. Just like we have a drive, the student also has a drive. So if they save something to their drive, they can upload it here. Or their local file would be like on their computer or saved on their iPad or phone, whichever device that they're using. They can upload there. A video. So they can use their iPad to take a video. For example, like I said, take a video showing me your school supplies. They can choose the camera on their iPad and do it right there. Or they can choose from their photos and upload the photo that's on their iPad or the video that's on their iPad. It's very easy. I've never had a single parent come to me and say they did not understand how to add videos, photos, or sound. They've all figured it out with no problem. And remember, our drive, our ClassIn is in English because that's what it's set for us. But all of their instructions, like camera, choose from photos, that will all be in Chinese for our students because that's the language that they set when they uploaded or downloaded ClassIn. So it's going to be easy for them to find how to do this because it's in their language. And then they can also add a link if you needed them to add a link for something. So that is how they complete their task, either by typing or by uploading one of these documents. And then this is where it's important. If they do not click submit at the bottom, you will not see that it has been submitted. So they've typed in their answer, but if I look over here, it still does not show submitted. So let me go in. I'm the student. I type my sentences for my task, and now I'm going to click on submit. Are you sure to submit the task? The teacher will receive it. Again, that will be in Chinese for them. And now it says submitted. So here it shows my task submitted today. There's my complete. That's what I typed in for my task response. The student can edit if they needed to add something or change something. And now let's go to my teacher side. Now I see here the same spot I had before. It says submitted, 1 out of 1. So I know it's been completed. And now it says unreviewed 1 because I have not reviewed it yet. You'll also notice this little 1 in the task that tells me that I have one task that I need to review. So I could click on the vocabulary task under the classroom, or I can just click on task up here. And now I can see this. It shows submitted. Let's see. It says 0 out of 1, unreviewed. Let me click on it. Okay, so now I can see it's unreviewed. And then here, submitted today, so I can see the time the student submitted. And then I click on review. So this box will pop up. And now I can see the student's name. So if you had more than one student in the class, you'll see which one submitted their task. I see what their response was. If they had a picture or a sound clip, I would also see that here. And then down here is where I submit the review. So the student will not know I looked at it until I do this bottom part. Just like I could not see what they submitted until they submitted and completed it. So here I just write excellent work, whatever you want to write, good job. Or if there was a word that they needed to practice again, I might say practice this word again, and then I can record that word one more time, and I can return it for revision. Or I could just click on excellent work. I remember I chose no rating, so I don't have a rating for it. And then I'm going to click finish. Now it says reviewed. There's my response. I can re-review. So if I made a mistake or I need to go back in and change something. So let me click exit here. And now back to my task over here. It still says submitted 1 out of 1, unreviewed 0 because I have reviewed it. So now let's go back to our student. I'm going to go back to the main page. Now, if you look under the students class, it still has the vocabulary task underneath, but now it says reviewed. So now the student can click on that. They now can see, I can view the details if they wanted to look at the assignment again. They can see under my tasks, they can see that it was reviewed. It has the little ribbon here, the star, and they can see my response. So now they can see if they did a good job on it or if they need to redo anything. So that task will stay there for me and for the student until I finish the task or the deadline has passed. So let's say I gave the student a week to do it. I can just wait until that week is up and it expires, or I can finish the task early. So to do that, I would go back to the task. Notice the one disappeared because I already reviewed it. I can look back at my details of the task if I want to do that. I can review it again. Let's say I want to review it. I made a mistake. Before it said re-review, I can't see that anymore, but all you have to do if you wanted to re-review it is go back to reviewed and click on the name again, and then you will see that re-review button. So again, if you made a mistake, just click on reviewed, click on Kendall student or the name of the student, and then you can re-review. So let's say I'm done. I gave it a couple days for the student to check the review or till their next class. And the top right corner, I can finish task, edit task, delete task, or save to task bank. So if you forgot to save it, you can always do that at a later time. I usually go and just finish the task. That way it disappears under the classroom. I'd like to wait a couple days because I want to make sure my student has had time to look at my review, or I'll wait till their next class because a lot of times our students don't log into ClassIn except when they come to enter their class. So I usually wait until their next class is finished, and then I will click on Finish Task. After finishing cannot be undone, that's fine. So when I finish the task, now it has disappeared under my class. So I don't see it anymore. And then let's go to my student. And then you can see my student, the test classroom business, they don't see it under there anymore either. But they can still look at the task. Even though I finished the task, if they click on their classroom, they can go to their tasks. And it's still there. It just shows finished. They can still review. They can still see what I wrote. They can still check everything. It just doesn't show up under their classroom anymore. I like to finish the task because if I add additional tasks, it all groups them as one, and it might get confusing for the student if they have more than one ongoing task. So once one has been completed, we've had our next class, and I'm ready to add a new task. I like to just finish the old one if it's been completed. That way it's not there anymore and there's no confusion about which task they still need to complete. So there are a few steps in there. It can get a little confusing. So far, all of my students have had no issue understanding how to complete the task. The only time it might be an issue is if you don't have anything for them to actually manually type or respond. I had some parents, she's like, we did the task. I sent them a link and they actually completed the task. in a different website. So it didn't show up as submitted on their ClassIn. And she's like, why does it not show submitted? I submitted it. And I just explained to her, because you did it on a separate website. I know you did it, but it doesn't show as submitted on ClassIn. So to do that, like I said, just hit take task, just type in, I completed or done, whatever you want them to type. That way you can see on ClassIn that it's been submitted, and then you can respond to their submitted task. So hopefully this answers your questions, and hopefully I did not confuse you even more. There's just so many things you can do on ClassIn. Playing around with it, testing it out is the best way to kind of learn how to do it. And if your parents have any questions about how to complete a task, I actually got a screen. It's like a screenshot with the instructions in Chinese for students, or for parents and students, to complete their tasks. The instructions are for the computer. So I have one for the computer. Oops, let me go here. So it goes through step by step, 1, 2, 3, how to complete it. Gives them detailed instructions, what it looks like in Chinese. And then there's also one for the mobile. So if they're using their phone or an iPad, there are instructions for them, step by step, how to complete the tasks. This is an excellent resource for you to give to your students. And if you ever think of something like, how do I explain this to the parents? Ask ClassIn if they have the Chinese instructions. They have Chinese instructions for almost everything that you can think of. Just ask them and they would be happy to give it to you. I have these saved. That way, if I have a parent that asks a question, I just send these Chinese instructions, and then it helps them understand what to do. If you are in the Facebook group, the ClassIn unofficial Facebook group, I will upload both of these. That way, if you want to save them, you can just save them into a file on ClassIn, and you can just send it to the parent in the chat box. And this will be very, very helpful for them if they're having some trouble. Like I said, I haven't even had to send this to anybody because the parents have been able to figure it out themselves. If you have any additional questions, I know this was a long video, but please let me know and I will try to answer them for you. Have a great day and happy teaching, everyone.